prepared than any other nation. And I would argue that it's one of the reasons why we were so successful and have been so successful. But as you've all observed, other nations have caught up. In the 21st century, in my view, I think the vast majority of Americans, 12 years of universal education is not enough. And we're going to be outcompeted by the rest of the world if we don't take action. But here's the deal. The cost of education beyond high school has gone up significantly.
More and more lawmakers are becoming increasingly worried about the rising cost of living and inflation. Democrats are being urged by economists to quickly take action. Joe Biden is addressing a possible recession, so make sure to watch to the end to learn how to receive a stimulus check. As the White House publicly promotes falling gas prices, behind the scenes, experts and government officials are worrying that prices could rise again as they keep looking for ways to get more oil in the market. The White House used a drop in the average price of gas below $4 last week to talk up President Biden's response to record high oil prices and push back on Republicans who blamed him for the earlier price spike. But oil traders, industry executives, and former officials warned that prices could easily rise again, as many of the issues that contributed to the spike in early summer are still a factor, such as limited refinery capacity. Industry experts said the White House has had a limited impact also on the recent decline in prices, pointing instead to fears of a recession. As the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, there is a slight pullback in consumer demand because of earlier high prices and an uptick in global production. Administration officials have pointed to a Treasury Department analysis showing that Biden's decision to release 180 million barrels of oil from the strategic oil preserves contributed from 13 to 31 cents to the more than $1 drop in gas prices since their highs in June, with similar releases by other countries adding up to 11 cents more to the decline. Although gas prices have dropped earlier this summer, they are still. Say taxpayers who filed individual tax returns will see $250, and those who filed jointly or as head of households will see $500. There is no income limit for those receiving the final rebate. Those who filed a 2021 tax return do not need to do anything to receive their payment. Payments will come in the form of a direct deposit or by check, whichever was chosen on your tax return. However, those who did not file a tax return and did not file to receive the rebate payments will need to file a 2021 tax return with the state to be eligible for the rebate. The deadline to file a return is May of 2023. These state refunds are not so different from the stimulus payments the federal government sent out in 2020 and 2021. July's Consumer Price Index report finally showed a sign of potential relief. Inflation ticked up less than expected from a year ago and was flat on the month, meaning that a basket of items and services generally stayed the same price, but some items have fallen on a monthly and weekly basis, potentially signaling that inflation has passed its peak and may be cooling off. This is welcome news to consumers who've been squealed by higher prices and are looking for any sign of relief. Some of the top items whose prices have come down include eggs, milk, and gas. Everybody, there's some big news for the Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. So folks, a huge monthly benefit increase can be expected for many people. Be sure to watch until the end to learn how to receive it. Here is some big news for millions of Americans. The Social Security increase coming in 2023 will be one of the largest ever. Mary Johnson, a Social Security policy analyst for the Senior Citizens League, a nonprofit group, told reporters this will be one of the highest cost of living increases ever paid in history of the program. The increases are meant to help seniors and other Social Security beneficiaries keep pace with rising prices. With inflation at its highest point in decades, the increase for 2023 will certainly be large. Just how large won't be known until the fall, when the SSA announces the final figure. The hike will then take effect in January. The Senior Citizens League estimates the adjustment could be around 9.6% if inflation continues at a similar pace. If things get hotter, the hike could rise to over 10%. A bit cooler, and the increase could fall in the 8% range to 9% range. A separate recent analysis from the nonprofit committee for responsible federal budget found next year's hike could be as high as 10.8%. If things.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and the ranking member for holding this hearing. As a chairman of the full committee, I appreciate that chairs and rankings who preside over nominations hearings is one of the fundamental responsibilities that we have to move nominees forward. And I appreciate those of my colleagues who have fulfilled that duty during this work period. Congratulations to all the nominees and your families who are with you. This hearing comes at a time when human rights and fundamental freedoms face numerous challenges in our hemisphere, and champions of democracy are needed now.
Payments will continue to be made to adult residents who filed 2021 tax returns and 2 other individuals. At this time, residents do not have to take additional action that is, to receive $300 checks. Florida families should also be on the lookout. A $450 check may be in your mailbox. The one-time $450 payment will help about 60,000 families in the state amid rising inflation. The money can be used for anything, but the state recommends it be used for back-to-school expenses or filling up at the pump. According to a letter signed by the governor, these checks are part of the First Lady's Hope Florida, a Pathway to Prosperity initiative. Today is a very big day. President Biden is expected to take some executive action this week for our stimulus payments. A final economic relief check in the form of a $250 or $500 check should arrive in most New Mexico residents' bank accounts. As the state looks to wrap up its program aimed at helping residents battle back inflation and gas prices, the latest August rebate marks the 3rd direct cash payment from the state of New Mexico this year. And unlike July's rebate, the latest will not be tied to income levels. The money in the August rebate program comes from a one-day special legislative action. During that session, lawmakers and the governor passed a bill authorizing direct cash payments to tax filers and non-filers statewide, targeting high fuel costs and rising cost of goods and services. According to the New Mexico Tax and Revenue Department, the August rebate...
Look, my friends, we offer a starkly different version and vision of this country, a vision of a better America that's within our reach, that's within our hands, if we just vote. If we elect 2 more senators, we keep the House and Democrats, we're going to get a lot of unfinished business we're going to get done. Folks, look, we'll codify Roe v. Wade.
New data has just been released, everybody. Social Security beneficiaries could be seeing a much larger increase soon. Bernie Sanders and other Democrats are also now supporting monthly checks for a targeted group of people. Up to $2,000 Ford stimulus checks may finally begin to be sent out. If you are a retiree living on a fixed income, your monthly check likely cannot keep up with the rising cost of living. To help millions of Social Security recipients maintain purchasing power, the Social Security Administration raises Social Security benefits amounts each year via cost of living adjustment. Many advocacy groups and economists have already made predictions based on current inflation data. Nonprofits like the Senior Citizens League estimate that 2023's COLA will be a record-breaking increase of up to 10.1%. At that rate, the average retiree receiving Social Security benefits could get as much as an extra $159 per month starting next year. But the big question is whether the additional cash is enough to outweigh ballooning prices. The cost of living is the amount of money you have to spend on essential, everyday purchases to live in your area. Expenses like housing, food, clothing, and healthcare are typically considered part of your cost of living. According to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average cost of living in America is a little over $62,000 per household, or $5,000